Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Monday, November 22nd. So today we have the moon in her place of power in Cancer. Monday is Moon Day. So we have to expect that we are a little bit emotional. We are a little bit stronger in our intuition. And we're really kind of recognizing where it is that our boundaries are being tested and where it is that it is our fault for not implementing and creating and enforcing strong enough boundaries in order to actually protect ourselves. Now, the moon in Cancer, typically speaking, is a little bit introverted. We want to stick close to home. We want to kind of dabble in the family dynamics. We very much are trying to nurture ourselves, especially emotionally, find some stability where it is that we've been lacking lots of stability in our emotions, and where it is that, again, we're kind of making extra efforts to really realign with our intuition and see what kind of gut instincts are starting to emerge, especially contemplating the new information, the new details that have emerged, and how that is changing not only our intentions moving forward, but really changing our perspective and, of course, how it is that we're feeling about our current relationship status. There are 9 different aspects here today. 8 of them involve the moon. The moon right out of the gate really kind of makes a tension point with the true node, which is putting us in a difficult situation to try and contemplate what it is we actually want for ourselves. So again, we are constantly taking this big dream, this big vision that we have for the future, and we're constantly re-editing it. We're tweaking it. Each and every single day, we get little blips, little pieces of clarity coming through, really changing the game on what that end goal is. And right now we are kind of at odds. What we thought we wanted is no longer what excites us. Where we thought we were putting our energy, our attention is now being kind of detoured and redirected to a different way. And because we've kind of been overwhelmed, especially with the full moon, with the eclipse energy, with the Palladian portal coming in, there's lots of stuff going on. We're just fresh into Sag energy. We have a new truth emerging, and we have to listen to our heart and to our soul in order to be raw and authentic with our new passions and with our new desires. Now, Mercury, the ruler of the mental plane, ruling over our thoughts, our ideas, and the way we communicate and express ourselves, bumps into Saturn, the lord of karma. Now, let me tell you, this could go one of 2 ways, but I'm feeling like the majority of the energy is going to be beneficial. This particular aspect kind of suggests that we are bossing up and getting a grip on our mental plane, on our focus, on where it is that our attention needs to be. Now, Mercury, still in Scorpio, has a couple of days left before shifting into Sagittarian energy. We're very intuitive. We are kind of blending our gut reaction with our egoic intellect to try to come up with some logical and practical realizations on why it is that we're thinking the way we are, why it is that we're feeling the way that we are. And bumping into Saturn right now, this is a huge request for us to boss up emotionally and mentally, to get a grip on a new long-term plan, to see where new systems, new foundations, new structures need to be built, need to be created, need to be implemented and enforced in order for us to actually bridge the gap to where it is that we're at and where it is that we want to be. Now, Mercury does rule over communication as well. And because we're having these very profound insights in our mental plane, these aha moments and realizations on where it is that we feel blocked, where it is that we feel held back and restricted, we are likely going to have these aha moments and want to express them to whoever it is that has a hand in actually blocking us from moving forward. Now, the moon is going to go ahead and jump into this aspect, a positive aspect, with Saturn just minutes after. This is almost like an attempt to get our heart and our head on the same page. And because the moon is in Cancer, we're really having to take a good look at our boundaries. And because Saturn's involved, this likely is going to illuminate the boundaries that we're banging our head off of, that we can't seem to get over or get around. The moon in Cancer wants us to nurture ourselves, wants us to emotionally find new ways to provide soothing, stability, safety for ourselves while still struggling with some of the blocks, the obstacles, the challenges and restrictions, of course, that we're currently facing. The moon and Saturn in this way is definitely going to illuminate for us where it is that we have to work on ourselves, providing ourselves the kind of emotional foundation that we need in order to stay safe and stable, instead of looking outside of ourselves for other people to fill that void within us. The moon goes ahead and bumps into Mercury. This is almost like Mercury had a chance to talk to Saturn and really get a grip on our thoughts and aha moments and realizations. Then the moon goes ahead and bumps into Saturn just minutes after. And then literally 1 minute after that, the moon and Mercury come together to chat, to see where it is that these new revelations, these new aha moments are leading us to a different path on recognizing what it is that we're lacking emotionally, what it is we want, need, and desire emotionally. This is going to be a kind of blending of an energy, because you got to remember, Mercury is in Scorpio, and Cancer in energy is water, just like Scorpio is. And water is here to cleanse us, to remove us from past attachments and drop the emotional baggage and leave it in the past while we make an emotional transformation that does happen in the heart space. It does happen in the head space before it happens in our physical realms. So the moon and Mercury bumping into each other at this particular point in time not only tells me that we're making huge efforts, huge transformations in our heart and in our head, trying to get those two on the same page, but we have a lot of intuitive insights coming in. We have a strong gut reaction on what it is that we need and where it is we have to focus our energy. We get a little bit of time to sit with that, and then the moon goes ahead and bumps into the sun in the most beautiful, harmonious way. And again, the sun's still fresh in Sagittarian energy. We're really acclimatizing to this fire energy. The moon in Cancer, of course, is a water sign, water on water, and the sun, fire, is now in Sag, fire. So when we have water and fire come together, those two elements can create a couple of different situations. First of all, if there's too much fire, we're going to kind of dry up our emotions. We're going to evaporate and just lose our emotions, lose our stability. If too much water is present, we're going to snuff that fire right out. And again, fire is life force. It's excitement. It's initiation. It's new adventures. It's a new spark that we definitely want to run with. But if we're too over emotional about it, if we're too caught up in the past, especially our past attachments that the Cancer in energy definitely highlights for us, we can kind of snuff that flame right out. We can just put a damper on that excitement, put a damper on that new adventure. So we want to be very careful on how it is that we're allowing these particular elements to interact and to manifest inside of our bodies. The moon and the sun, anytime they come together, is kind of a huge illumination of our subconscious thoughts and feelings. We are having things rise to the surface for our acknowledgement, for our integration. We recognize where it is we have to draw a line and leave the past in the past in order for us to stand in the power of the present moment and start getting to work on creating the kind of future in which we now feel drawn, passionate to pursue. The moon goes ahead and makes a not so nice aspect with Saturn. And this, again, like I continue to say, every single time we make one step forward in the right direction, you best believe that those negative narratives are going to pop back in to pull you all the way back. And the moon at this time bumping into Saturn isn't as harmonious as the earlier aspect was. And that is mostly because the negative narrative is now coming in. Are we sure that we want this path? Are we sure that we're fired up about this? Are we very clear on what it is that we want? Because again, we're feeling blocked. We're feeling blocked on dropping the past and leaving it in the past where it belongs. And Saturn, especially in Aquarius, wants us to think futuristically, wants us to think innovatively, wants us to be progressive in our efforts to build new foundations to actually live off of. And then you have this moon trying to pull you back into the past, remind you of all the hurt, remind you of all the past pain and experience. And just simply being so nostalgic that you forget about the kind of routines and foundations and systems that you need to be pouring your energy into now to benefit your future self. Now, the moon is going to be making a tough aspect with Chiron. And again, another indicator that just when we take one step forward, we get pulled back into the darkness. Chiron, of course, is the wounded healer. The moon, of course, is very sensitive, very hypersensitive at this point, very emotional, very much focused on the past, very much focused on not wanting to change much. And this particular interaction is going to highlight for us our doubts, our fears, our insecurities, why we don't want to make a change, why we don't want to move forward, and instead try to justify why it's safer to sit in this uncomfortable position in the present moment than to be bold enough and brave enough and courageous enough to make a change and push ourselves in a brand new path and direction. The moon goes ahead and makes a little bit of a tension point with Jupiter, and Jupiter, of course, wants us to grow. He wants us to expand. He wants us to push our mental limits outside of the boundaries in which we got comfortable in to see what is possible. Now, Jupiter rules over Sagittarius season, which means that we're going to be a little bit extra. We're going to bite off more than we can chew. We are definitely seeing the bigger, grander picture here, but it can become overwhelming as well. And right now, I feel like that's what's going to happen. The negative narrative that we're sitting in, the emotions that are rising to the surface, the fear, the doubts, the insecurities are going to be amplified. Really, again, the dark force is trying to keep us in this present moment, paralyzed because of the fears, doubts, and insecurities that we have about making a change, about stepping outside of our comfort zones, and actually taking action to bridge the gap between where it is that we're at and where it is we want to be. Lastly, we have the moon sextiling Uranus. This is a beautiful energy that's going to break us out of this funk and really kind of suck us back out of this dark tunnel that we allowed ourselves to get in. The moon in Cancer sextiling with Uranus, the great awakener, is here to shake things up, is here to reveal a new perspective, is here to kind of show us where we have to rebel against our egoic selves, wanting to keep us in a state of paralysis, wanting everything to stay same, and really push us to be independent, to free ourselves from these restrictions, from these confines of our mind, of our emotions. And so this particular energy is a great way to end off the day because it kind of sparks a little bit of rebellion in us so that we do have an outlook on where it is that we can't stay here. We don't want to stay here. We need to be progressively taking action, making new things happen, building new relationship dynamics, building new routines and systems that are of worth and value. Again, we are shifting our perception of how it is we want to actually live our lives. And the whole effort at this particular point is try to align with our higher selves and bring true meaning and true purpose into everything that we do.